Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Vierthaler of Vierthaler Studios back again for the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
How you doing, guys? I'm Vega Montanez, writer, director, producer, and I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Exactly. So, my first question is what exactly inspired you to pursue the world of entertainment?
I was kind of born into it in a sense. I started off early in life. My dad was DJing for a boat called the Floating Hospital. And then that got me kind of in like the party environment earlier on. I learned to be around celebrities, learned to just kind of navigate the space of entertainment and music. Then throughout my teenage years, I started getting more involved with music production, writing, creating. My uncle passed away,
Oh,
big
I'm sorry.
inspiration for me to focus on writing and work. And then that just kind of took off. So I've really spent a lot of my life in the entertainment field. And I transitioned into film roughly 2019. I transitioned into film, and now here we are with a couple features out, and working on some more amazing stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. But yeah, first of all, I just want to say, as far as your uncle's passing, I am definitely very sorry to hear about that.
Thank you, thank you. No, it was a moment in life that definitely changed course for a lot of the things that we do.
Oh,
So,
yeah, definitely, and I mean, life events such as that, I mean, it could definitely very much so affect the rest of your life.
hmm absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and but yeah, and I mean, it's rather interesting timing, like, about how you got into I got into the world of movies in 2019, which was the year before the whole entire world went into chaos.
Right, which was crazy because for me personally, I feel like as crazy and bad as the pandemic was, it was good for certain people, right? Like on an entrepreneurial level, there was a lot of good opportunity for people. A lot of people were able to launch podcasts or build themselves online profiles and celebrity. In my case, I think the lack of work opened the door for a lot of people to be more willing to have conversations with people who had never done stuff before, right? So for
Mhm.
me, my first feature was produced through 2019 going into the pandemic. And we shot most of it throughout the pandemic, COVID rules and all that stuff.
Right.
But it was still a case of like, there's opportunity to do something here because most of the world is shut down, right? So
Mhm.
anything that normally would be generating any type of revenue or business is a little bit more open to having people come in and use their space for a lot less money, because they're not generating any money at all, right? And
Right.
then that kind of the relationships, the networking that I've built throughout my entire career in the space have put me in a position where like I just have really good relationships, that allow me to do really great work.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and I mean, as much as it may not have been fun to deal with COVID, and it feels kind of weird to say this, but on the other side of the coin, it feels weird and maybe a bit morbid to say this. I'm not trying to come across that way, but there actually were a few good things that came out of it, like such as like the fact that you don't have to travel all the way down to Los Angeles. Just so that you can go audition for said part. I mean, nowadays you can submit self tapes,
Mhm.
which yeah, and I mean, but yeah,
Which
and I
is it's a
yeah.
I feel like that's a double-edged sword where like, yes, it's definitely a better experience, more convenient for the film, the actor who, like you said, they couldn't just randomly buy tickets to go to LA to
Yep.
audition, right? Like I'm on the East Coast for those who don't know, so that's why I always refer to it as buying tickets. Or for
Yep.
people who live there to like take the time off necessary to run over and do an audition that you might not get. So that convenience factor is definitely there.
Yep.
I personally, and I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing because I didn't really get to experience it fully, but I do kind of feel like I prefer the in-person experiences, right? Like I prefer those like one-on-one moments where I can really just get through a lot of the conversation that has to happen anyway after I watch your self-tape.
Mhm.
So I try to maximize that as often as possible and emulate it as much as possible in the digital space, right? So we do the self tapes, but we also will do Zoom auditions, right, where we have you read with somebody and we try to get the most of the experience as possible. Because you know, one of the things that I bring attention to often is like I fully understand and respect where actors come from as far as the value of their image on a
Mhm.
screen, right? But on the flip side of it, I think that there's a lack of respect for the understanding that every single thing a producer spends money on is an investment that has to be returned,
Yep.
right? So like you being a great actor is fantastic. But if
Yeah.
you don't do the work to show people they should watch you in this movie, if I'm the only one doing the work of that, like taking on that load, right? Yeah, I get it. Like there's this idea that this massive amount of money will be made by the producers, but also that only works if the film actually does well,
Yep.
right? And we all lose if the film does bad, right?
Yep.
So I've been very anti a lot of like recently Hollywood actors have gotten into this habit of bashing a film and their experience with the film and their desire to be a part of the film once the film doesn't do well, right? If it does well, they like, yeah, they take all the credit for it. And if it doesn't do well, they have everything bad to say about production. It's like, yeah, but what effort did you make to make this a good film? Because at the end of the day, you were an expense, you know. So if you signed
Exactly.
on the project and didn't think it was going to be great, you got paid.
Yep, and exactly, and I can definitely see where you're coming from, because I totally get it. Every actor wants work, and and I also get it that that they have to make ends meet too. But I mean, to add on to what you said, if they truly are going to bash on the movie, if they truly didn't believe in the project, well, and then maybe they shouldn't have signed on to it in the first place.
Right. But because of, like you said, unfortunately, this is people's careers, right? So
Yep,
there are people who are going to sign on just because they need the money, right? And we've
yep,
heard these conversations happen, whether post the film or you hear actors or producers, even producers do it, right? Like it's not a just an actor thing. Like I've seen producers sign on projects they're not interested in simply because the money was there for it. And it's like, well, if the project fails, if it's great, if it sucks, it doesn't actually matter. I'm getting paid, right? And I think we've gotten to a place where corporations have abused people so badly that that abuse is now expected even at like the small business, independent business level, and it's like it doesn't exist there.
oh yeah, definitely, yeah, and and just to add on to like how people need the money. Now, I do understand where a lot of people are coming from, like when they say that there's so many Fast and the Furious movies and so many Jurassic Park movies and so on and so forth. I I do understand creatively where they're coming from, but the other side of that coin is that the reason why they make so many of said movies is because that they've made a lot of money.
So I used to fully believe that, right? And
Uh-huh,
then I started like really taking note of Hollywood. And
uh-huh.
I wish that were true, but this is one of the rare cases where I'm like, damn, it might actually just come down to being as simple as sometimes humans are dumb and we do the same thing over because we got a great result one time, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter how many times it fails. They're like, but that one time it worked, right? That's literally addiction, right? It's like
Yeah.
that one time it was amazing is worth every time we fail, right? And I feel like Hollywood's gotten to that place now where they're taking old properties and franchises or even like amazing franchises. Like in my opinion, Fast and Furious was great for the first two, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Tokyo Drift was a weird spinoff, and then they came back with the third and was like, all right, word, we're back on track. But now it's gone completely off the rails, right? And I think it's a case of like, no matter how many times they look at it, they're just like, well, people keep buying this, so it doesn't actually matter if we make something amazing, right? So now it comes back on the audience, but
Yep.
you can't fully blame the audience when they don't have other options, right? Like, how many other racing movies can you name?
That is true, and now I am pretty sure that other people have tried. I'm pretty sure that other people have tried to cash in on it. But the thing is, uh, if you ask the general audience, like to name a racing movie, the first thing that's going to come to their mind absolutely is going to be the Fast films.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. If you're talking to somebody really, really old, maybe they'll say Gran Torino.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
But
true. Yeah.
but like for the most part, yeah, like when you think of car racing, the first thing that comes to your mind is Fast and the Furious, right? And that again, it goes back to the conversation of like, but what are the other options, right? We saw when they tried to do Need for Speed, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know what went wrong there, but that movie should have stopped from the script position. Like, the script is bad. You're making a movie about racing cars. We don't see any cars race until 30 minutes in. This was a bad idea, right? Like
Yep.
from the beginning, you know. But is that so? That goes back to like the idea of like at some point we're just being dumb humans, right? Because on the
Mhm.
fan side, if we don't like it, we need to be stronger on boycotting things, right? Like people are going to stop spending money on stuff if you stop buying it from them. It's a
Yep.
very simple equation, right? On the Hollywood side, we can ask them to take more risk, right? And try different projects, open the door for more opportunities. But from a business standpoint, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not, and definitely
Like
not.
what we're doing is working really well. Why would we take a chance just because you asked us to? Like
Exactly, because, I mean, at the end of the day, money does talk.
exactly. So like yeah, it's cute, we're real nice, and like yeah, that sounds like a great creative idea. But are you going to make more money than Vin Diesel alongside The Rock? Because if not,
I mean, they can try, but, all I can say is good luck.
right, you know,
Yeah, and also just to add on to what you said, I mean, if you also ask the general audience to name a dinosaur movie, and now are there plenty of dinosaur movies out there? Sure. And I feel like that more dinosaur enthusiasts definitely could answer that question, about to name a dinosaur movie besides Jurassic Park. But that aside, you ask the general public, they are going to say Jurassic Park, which is why that I feel like that most mainstream dinosaur movies definitely are going to be a part of the Jurassic Park series.
but that's a great point you bring up because I've thought about it often with so I've never actually watched any of the Star Wars content,
Uh-huh.
right? I'm just never been interested in like I've never really been interested in space stuff. Like my favorite and probably the only thing I really connected to heavily that was space based was Cowboy Bebop, right? But like
Right.
even that wasn't really space based. It just happened to be they went to different planets, but it was
Right.
really more of an urban story. Um, so I've never really connected to Star Wars. But I feel like when I look at the criticism that the newer content receives, a lot of it for me feels like if you would have named this anything other than Star Wars, it probably would have been a hit, right? Because there's a lot
Right.
of concepts and action and dialogue and storylines that are absolutely great, right? Like they seem amazing on paper, right? But if you put them into this universe that already has this massive fandom, that already has this decades of lore, right? Like there's already so many people who are dedicated to the facts of the story and the things that have happened. Every time you add a new story in there, you're damaging this thing that they hold valuable, and you're putting like no matter how good it is, you're putting it at risk because it's always going to be compared to the rest of this world.
Yep.
If you take some of those Star Wars stories and just name them anything else, they probably become way bigger films. I mean, look at Dune. Like Dune could be a Star Wars story.
Yeah. Certainly, yes.
So it's crazy. It's crazy to think that.
Which is ironic that you say that because as far as my knowledge goes, the original Dune book actually was one of the inspirations
For Star
for.
Wars.
Yes, it was. And yeah, and when I saw when I say original Dune, I don't mean the one from the 80s. I mean, the one that came out a few years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, when I saw that one in theaters, I definitely did get Star Wars vibes, like
Mm.
just from them being in the desert and some of the clothes that they wore. And then afterwards, I got curious and I was like, is this a coincidence or is this plagiarism or what? I just had that curiosity sparking me. And then I did research. I was like, oh, I had no idea it was based off of a book. And I had no idea that was one of the things that inspired
Yep. So
the
if
original A
you
hero.
look at the success of that story, that franchise, right? Because that Dune has, I think, like 30 books or something crazy like that, right? Like, so
Right.
even the movie that was Dune 1, in theory, is like book 6 or 7 or something ridiculous like that, right? Like it's not even completely chronologically in order, right? So they can do this with so much more sci-fi content, right? Netflix had a sci-fi show that, again, like I'm not a big sci-fi person when it comes to space, but there was a show that they had that was like some sort of combination of like superheroes and aliens, and it got canceled after the first season. And I'm like, yo, I don't understand why this got canceled when there's a lot of potential here for people
Yep.
who love this type of content. But we've gotten so driven by the dollar and the monetization of things. And not just the monetization, because I'm not against monetizing things.
Right.
My biggest problem is we've created these astronomical baselines, right? So, like, your film is a flop if it doesn't do $20 million, right? Like, you didn't make a real movie if your budget was less than $1 million. Like, we set these massive numbers that, for me, just feel like gatekeeping. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
what are they really for?
Yeah. And so about that. So there has been a lot of talk about why so many big budget movies on the 2023, such as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and a few others. I mean, there were a few exceptions like Guardians 3 and Barbie and yeah, and so why, in your opinion, do you think films such as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny that had a humongous budget, I think 200 or 300 million, somewhere around there, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it's approximately around there. Why do you think so many big name movies bombed in 2023?
Uh, I don't think I'm one of the smartest people on the planet. I just think that sometimes smart people overlook simple answers. And
That's fair.
I think the simple answer in this case is like world politics is a complete dumpster fire right now. Like, nobody feels safe, right? So when you take those things into consideration as in a trickle down economy, if the rich people don't want to spend money to go watch movies in the theater because they're worried about what the economy is doing, right? How do you expect the low income people to do this, right? And
Hmm.
low income people are the people who are have always spent the most money going to the theater, right? High income people spend the most money around a film. They buy the most merch, they buy the most material, they go to the fan events, they pay for signings, autographs, or like all of that ancillary income. But the actual dollars for the film, like no matter how you look at it, population wise, there are less rich, affluent people than there are low income. So there's going to be a larger amount of people in the low income space. They can't afford to go watch movies right now.
Nope.
So how, like, movies are not going to do well. So now when you put us in that environment and you tell people, okay, if you're a standard family budgeting for 3, 4 movies that you're going to go to the movie theater this year as the maximum, right? Compared to the previous year, maybe you went once a month, twice a month, right? This year, you're saying we're only watching 4 movies. What 4 movies do you pick?
Hmm.
Then it becomes a little easier to be like, oh yeah, Barbie 100% is going to be a top performer, right? Oppenheimer, right? Like that, I think that one did really, really well, but I think it also just kind of got coupled in with Barbie's success, right? Like, as a parent, I'm going to take my daughter to watch Barbie. I don't feel like watching Barbie with her. I'll go watch Oppenheimer while she's watching Barbie, right?
Yep.
The movies are timed correctly. I come out before she does, or like everything kind of works out. As if it's a traditional family, maybe it gets split up. Maybe mom and her daughter go and watch Barbie, dad and the son go, right? So like these different elements that come into play, but we can't really account for those when we're in an economy that nobody wants to spend money in. You know,
Yep.
why am I going to spend $70 to take my family to the movie theaters? By the way, I don't have an actual family. I'm just making numbers up.
Right.
But why am I going to spend $70 to go, enjoy this movie when it has become 100% clear public knowledge that every film business cycle is 3 to 4 weeks in theater, and then it comes out on demand. And then we can just rent the movie in our house for $3, $4. If we love it, we could buy it for 10, and we can do whatever we want. Like, sure, we're not getting the theatrical experience, the mega screen, the amazing sound system, but those are the luxury of going to the movie theater. So when people
Yep.
have to start making budget cuts in their life, you cut the luxuries. So they're still watching movies, just not in that way. So all those movies that are box office bombs, like, that's not even a valuable metric anymore, because box office bombs can still become home streaming mega successes.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, like I believe the original Hocus Pocus actually is an example of that. When it was first released in theaters, it didn't do very well, and then it wasn't until afterwards, like, was when it
Right,
became
when the
like,
VHS version is what
yep,
did great.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, we eventually got a sequel. Eventually, like what 30 years later, but but
Even
we
the
finally
sequel
got
didn't do great. Like the sequel was only in theaters for I think like a 2 week cycle, I believe, before it went to demand. Right.
yeah, either that or I believe that it went straight to Disney Plus. I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, so maybe they did one of the because Disney tends to do like the theater events after it comes out on streaming as well, just like
Yeah.
marketing events. They
Mhm,
did that
yeah.
for well, Hulu did that for Mr. Crockett, but at this point, Hulu is part of Disney.
Yeah, and I mean, people have been saying, like, that Disney's doing, like, a real life version of Monopoly, and I can see why that they would make that assessment because they own ESPN, they own Star Wars, Indiana Jones, I mean,
Disney is
they
literally
own.
the largest monopoly on the planet, right? And it sucks because acknowledging that gets you in trouble. You know what I mean? Like telling the truth about this is they're one of the few categories of people or businesses where acknowledging their success is dangerous, right? Because you acknowledge the success of Disney and you start to do some simple math like Disney owns the film studios, they own the news broadcast studios. So if the news broadcast studios are the ones telling you what movies are good and they're owned by the guys who are making the movies, what movies do you think they're going to tell you are good?
Yep, exactly, and, and since that people are on budgets, they don't wanna waste their money, and on top of that, time is money, so
Time is
therefore,
money.
people are going to be considerate, like, of what movies that they go see, like, that's why that some people now I may not be able to speak on the behalf of every single individual out there, but I do know that a lot of people do rely on websites like Rotten Tomatoes, like such as for that reason alone, is because if they see, well, it got bad reviews, I don't want to waste my time.
Right. And especially if they're going to the movie theater, right? For streaming titles, it's just a word of mouth thing. Like genuinely the biggest way to succeed with your streaming, with your film streaming on Amazon, Netflix, Tubi, Hulu, whatever platform it is to get people talking about it. Right? Just have people talking about your film, generate conversation, understand who your audience is so you
Yep.
know who to target to get them to talk about it. Because that's really the biggest thing, right? My two most recent films, we haven't even started the official marketing runs for them, right? And they've already done astronomical numbers. We were ranked in the top 3,000 films in the world for like 3 or 4 weeks straight, right? And this is with no marketing push because we've done such a great job of doing the groundwork, the footwork of getting people to just know this is going to happen, getting people excited about the
Yep.
actors in the film, about the people involved with the film. Um, as opposed to just trying to like do this mass blanket marketing thing because and I say this to people all the time in business meetings, right? You could have the most amazing business idea in the world, but you have to take that idea, stand in front of a mirror and ask yourself, would you buy into this idea?
Yep.
Right? Like I love movies. I don't like leaving my house. Therefore, going to the movie theater is an endeavor. So I fall
Yep.
into that very category of people I was describing. I'm probably only going to go to the movie theaters to watch 4 or 5 movies a year. Which movies will those be? They're going to be the ones that excite me the most. And yeah, 3 of them will probably be franchise things that I'm already connected to because why take a chance on something I might not love?
Exactly. And I mean, just to add up on top of that, when somebody drives to the theater to watch a movie that you made, they're not only investing their time, they also are investing their gas. And and once that gas is gone, you know, it's gone. And and
Mhm.
people
Their
don't want to have
energy.
have their gas go to waste.
Yep. The energy, the and like again, it's everything. It's the whole experience, right? The convenience of it. Mentioning gas, right? Like if you have to stop and gas up in this temperature, I'm in New York, it's damn near 20 degrees right now.
Oh
Right. If you have to
gosh.
stop and put gas in 20-degree weather to go watch my movie in a movie theater, like, yeah, that's a crazy commitment to ask of somebody.
It
right? Like
is.
you have to make sure that it's valuable to them. So you have to get them excited. They have to want to go watch your movie more than you want them to come watch your movie.
Which is why that I think that's why I think that maybe why the both Avatar movies did so well at the box office. It's because that if you wanted to get the real, like the true experience that James Cameron wanted, you would have to see it like in 3D on the big screen. I mean, could you watch it at home? Sure, but it wouldn't be the same experience like of getting entrenched into that world that James Cameron created, which you only truly can get if you see it on the big screen, not in 2D, but in the third dimension
Yep.
as he intended. So, and I mean, for marketing, I think that that was a pretty good idea. I mean, people can say,
That's the things you want to focus on. It's what's the uniqueness of this experience? Why do I have to watch this in a movie theater versus just watching it in my house? Right? Like
yep,
I'm an audiophile. I was a sound person for the majority of my life, right? So for me, the value of going to a movie theater has nothing to do with the screen. It has everything to do with the sound system, right? But
yep,
also, as I've gotten further in my career and had more success in life, I've been able to invest in a sound system that works in my house like it would in a movie theater. So I don't actually have to go to the movie theater for that part of the experience, right? So now, what am I actually going for? Right? It's not the visual, it's just a bigger screen. It's sometimes it's uncomfortable on a bigger screen, right? So you have to find that value to make it really, really worth it. And I think part of that is the overall experience as a whole, right?
yep,
Is it 3D? Will somebody be doing signings? Is it Q&A? Will there be exclusive merch available that I can only get at the movie theater? Right? I think one of the biggest things that the internet has ruined is exclusive merch. Right? Because even exclusive merch is just listed on their website and you can order it whenever you feel like it. Right? It's not the
mhm,
same as like you couldn't get a Woodstock shirt if you didn't go to Woodstock.
yep, and yeah, and I definitely never thought of it that way, but now that you say that, it definitely does make sense.
Yeah, and then those are the additional revenue drivers. Like I said, those are the affluent drivers, right? Like the people with money that you want to turn into a fan. You want a millionaire to become such a fan of your film that he wants to dress up as your main character
Hmm.
for Comic Con, right? Like that's what you want out of your diehard fan, right? But the general consumption of the film, especially at the beginning stages, and I think this applies to most media and art, the beginning stages you want the widest specific net you can cast, right? You don't just want to throw it out there and be like, look, I made a movie about racism and just market it to everybody because I don't think the Brotherhood's going to care. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
but if you target it to the widest net possible, it's like, cool, I made a movie about racism. Let's talk to the largest sector of people we can that care about this thing, right? That
Hmm.
means maybe I don't have to specifically target the exact group that's experiencing racism in the film. Maybe I can target all of the groups that experience racism as long as they can associate with what they're seeing, right? Maybe
Hmm.
we're talking about romance, if it's comedy, like whatever it is, really spending that time to understand like who do you want to watch this film? Because we all as filmmakers, of course, we all as filmmakers want everybody to watch all the movies, right? Like I want the whole world to watch everything I've made.
Uh-huh, yep.
But when I'm putting the effort in to convince people to watch the movie, like, there's no way to convince the whole world. You know what I mean? Like you can't convince
Exactly.
10 people at a table to order the same food. Like
Exactly, yeah, and I mean, I definitely won't lie. If I did see that happen, I would be impressed.
I would start getting concerned at that point, to be honest. I'd be like, I'm
I
told
would
you salt?
too.
Wait a second.
I would too. I then at that point I'll go, okay, are they all in on it or what?
Right, right. Do I have more power than I should?
Yeah. Is this all a big conspiracy?
Yeah, it would be intense.
That it would be. And yeah, and I mean the chances of that, I mean, if that ever happened, I my mind definitely would be blown.
It could be crazy, like you can't. I tell people this all the time, and this is one of the things. Like I'm a medium level conspiracy theorist, right? I'm not a full blown, but I'm also like not naive enough to think that they're not possible, right? Like, guys, what are we doing, right? There's certain it's possible, right? But I always say like the thing that keeps me from being all in on most conspiracies is a very simple concept, right? Like, I've never stood in a room and seen 10 people, no matter how many things they share in common that they could benefit from,
Mhm.
agree on the same thing.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
asking you're asking me to believe that there's more than 10 people who not only agreed on this, but agreed to keep it a secret. That's a lot. It's a
Ex
wild commitment.
exactly. And yeah, if you think that's a wild commitment now, I don't know if this was satire or not. It could be, I don't know, but I heard one conspiracy saying that all penguins actually are just robots, like, programmed by the government, like, to spy on people.
This is what
That
I
one
mean.
is absurd.
Like, this is crazy. This is insane. Like, if you told me a couple of them, sure. I'd be like, all right, that's not unrealistic. I mean, we have a whole movie about animatronics terrifying the world. Like,
Yep.
yes, I 100% believe you could make a fake penguin and stuff it with surveillance equipment, right? Like, I
Yeah,
believe you could do the same with pigeons. I don't believe that every single pigeon I come across, like, that's a lot of footage for someone to be looking over.
it is. It's like, who in the world has that kind of time?
Right, like, how would you even begin to act like, they look like they're doing whatever they want all the time, right? Like, there's no way you're convincing me every one of these is it. But is there one or two? Maybe. I don't you I'm not fully convinced there's not.
Yeah, true. And now I definitely will admit that, could there be a few penguins here and there that are robots? Sure. But
Right, like, if I saw a penguin, if you showed me a penguin in Australia, I'd be like, "That's a robot." You're gonna have to do a lot to convince me otherwise, right? Like, you
yeah,
guys, that doesn't belong there. Like, we everything we know about how the world works, penguins are not dangerous enough to live in Australia. Like, that's not possible. Like,
right.
you've seen the creatures Australia produces. Penguin doesn't fit. Like, just no.
Right, yeah, definitely. And what I find really ironic, like, about how you mentioned, Australia, it's another conspiracy that I heard. I heard that everybody who lives in NASA is just sorry, everybody who lives in Australia is all just actors hired by NASA. Like, that's absurd.
That's
That's so
craziness.
absurd. Like,
Craziness.
in my opinion, while yes, the robot penguin one is pretty absurd, but that one where everyone who lives in Australia are just actors hired by NASA and the government, like, that just seems like just such a waste of time and money.
That's what I mean. And there's some of the theories. I'm just like, okay, from the anger that we tend to all harbor towards government, right? Collectively, I could understand like coming up with some really crazy ideas around how they're screwing us, right? Because it's like they've
Mhm.
done a lot of wild stuff we never would have saw coming, right? So like you can imagine a lot of stuff, but why? Like, give me the why. Like, why would they go through this work? You know what I mean? What's the effort? Or if you could show me the value of why someone would make robot penguins. Do you understand the population of people who live near penguins is pretty insignificant to the rest of the world? Like,
Yeah.
we don't actually care what people are doing in Alaska ever.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, it's like going through all that work to build the robot in the first place. It's like, if they
The
wanted to.
resources, the tools, like who are you spying on with a penguin that is that convinced that they're like who's spilling secrets in front of a penguin?
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those things when you say it out loud, it's like, just saying it out loud, like, it just sounds so absurd.
That's what I mean. Like, there's so many conspiracy theories where I'm just like, guys, if you spend 20 minutes just giving this thought, just thinking through, like, don't think about why it's real. Think about the counter arguments, right? Like the flat earth theory, right? Like, personally, I don't care what shape the earth is because it's not actually going to change anything when we find out, right? Like, we're still going to be living on this planet the same way we have. It's not like we learn the earth is flat and then it's like, oh shit, my house is falling. Like, no,
Yeah.
everything's still going to be working the same way, right? But if you are convinced the earth is flat, like, just think of the counter arguments, right? One very easy counter argument. Everything we've designed in the world has been designed around the idea that the world is round and it's
Mhm.
working.
Yeah,
If
it
the Earth
is.
wasn't round, it wouldn't be working.
Exactly, and, we have satellites. And yeah, and some of the arguments about the flat earth that I've heard, and I was not expecting us to go into the topic of conspiracies and flat earth, but hey, but that's just,
Film is
you
a
know,
wild place, man. You
that's
get
just
some
life for you.
crazy, crazy concepts come to mind when you're making movies. And you're like, let me, sometimes I got to double check and make sure it's not a conspiracy theory because I don't want to support things. Just like, oh, I just came up with this idea. Wait, wait, wait. Did I read this on Reddit or something? Like,
Yeah. And yeah, and so if you thought some of those arguments were absurd, I first became aware of the flat earth in around 2018, and I was caught off guard. I was like, "Wait, that is still a discussion?" And then that was when I met a few flat earthers for the first time, and I was just curious, why is it that you believe what you believe? I wasn't trying to change their mind, wasn't trying to argue, I just wanted to know, why do you believe this? I don't know if they were joking, or I don't know if they were trolling or being serious. I don't know, but one of them said the earth is flat because football doesn't exist. That one really scratched my head. I was like, and how did you come to that conclusion? They were telling me that all football players are just holograms.
wow.
And ever since then, I just can never think of football the same way ever again.
I'd never be able to look at flat earthers the same. Like,
Exactly.
no, I'm of those I'm of the old school mentality that like I can partially judge you based on the people you keep around you, right? So, like, as a flat earther, collectively, like, part of your group believes that football players are holograms. Do you understand you're on the wrong side now? Like,
And yeah, and and their argument for why they came to the conclusion that that football players are just holograms is that they argue that you can see them glitch on the TV. And I was like, maybe that was just your signal on your TV.
right, like maybe it was the technology part of the equation and not the human being part.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you didn't think maybe the antenna sending signal from the wireless camera sitting 3,000 miles from where you are comfortably on your couch might have had a little interruption from like a raindrop or something that's not more realistic to you? Like,
Exactly. And yeah, and now because of that, I now always get a smile on my face whenever I see anything football related, or it's just I just can't help but think of what that flat earther said.
oh my God, that's crazy.
I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing.
For me though, that one is a good thing, right? That guy's a good thing because theoretically, the only thing we have to do to fix his belief is introduce him to a real live football player.
Yeah.
Like just show him Tom Brady in person. Like,
Mhm. Yep.
here, bro, squeeze Tom Brady's cheeks. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever you got to do to feel real, do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. Or heck, or even like take them like to a high school football team, or even take them to like a college football team, or
Right?
just any
Like
sort of
these
football
people
game.
evolve to become the thing you see on TV. Like this is the egg version of what you see on TV. Is this good for you? Like
Yeah. And I swear, even at that point, if that's still not good enough for them, talk about being stubborn.
yeah, if that's not good for them, I'd be all right. Well, I got a job for you, bro. I feel like you make a great defense attorney.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. At that point, yeah.
You don't even need anything to work to defend with. You just go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, good on you for sticking to your guns.
Stuck to them guns.
Exactly. And then another flat earther told me the earth is flat because the water in your toilet doesn't curve, so therefore the earth is flat. I'm like, okay, toilet water isn't big enough to accommodate for the entire shape of the earth. And I'm like, okay, I really hope that you're just trolling.
Like those are the type of logics where I'm like, bro. So if if I took you to a hill and pushed you, you would then believe the Earth is round because you fell rolling. Like you wouldn't be able to roll on a flat Earth.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and then at that point, you and then can say the only thing that flat earthers fear is Saphir itself.
Oh man.
Yeah, definitely. So, what would you say are some of your favorite movies?
Um, man, my choices are not gonna be good.
Okay.
They just sit with me very well.
That's okay.
Well, I guess one of them will be really good. I'll go with that one first. Like Godfather.
Uh-huh.
The Godfather definitely. I think at the time of my life that I saw that movie, it shaped so much of how my personality ended up being. Right, just like in general, just a different perspective of understanding of how a different part of the world operates. Um, but then we go from that to like The Warriors and Mortal Kombat, the
Mhm.
first live action Mortal Kombat from the '90s. Love that movie. CGI is awful, but I love that movie. Um, yeah, man, it's so. For the holidays, How the Grinch Stole Christmas,
Yes.
and This Christmas are for sure my two favorite Christmas movies. I don't. I struggle with favorites in general because like I just enjoy the things I enjoy. Like I never really measure them against each other. I just enjoy it. So it's like uh these are just movies that I would rewatch anytime with no problem. Just be like, yeah, I'm bored. I'm gonna put Mortal Kombat on and call it a day. Like I don't
Mhm.
really have to think any further than that. Like
Right, yeah.
which is
So
why I'm dying to be the person who makes the next Tekken movie, right? So, like, if you know anybody or anybody watching knows anybody, let's get this conversation going. I'm trying to get the license locked in for making that happen. So,
yeah, yeah, exactly, and I mean, if it's something that you wanna go do, then why not, right?
exactly, you got to do it. And I've already written the script, so the Tekken movie will be happening sometime in the future. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen.
Well, just gotta keep your fingers crossed, and, it's one of those things where if you really want it, it's something that you will persevere on.
Yep. And in the meantime, people watching can help by watching my current movies so we can keep those statistics going, get that
Yep,
conversation brewing, keep things interesting. So when I show up to these studios, I'm like, look, people think that I can do this. So give me a shot to do it.
exactly, because, I mean, ultimately, no one's gonna believe in you until you believe in yourself.
Yep.
So, yeah, so you mentioned The Grinch, and now there are 3 versions of it. There's the original one
Live
with
action with Jim Carrey.
that one is hilarious. Ain't
I
it
like the
raw?
cartoon one too, but the cartoon one, like the early cartoon one, I think it's from like the '70s or the '60s. I like that one too. It just doesn't have the I don't know, it just doesn't have some of the spirit of some of the other actors, right? Like the girl who plays Cindy Lou Who, right? Like
Mhm.
that little girl, her energy, her character, right? Like I don't even know. That's actually one person I should probably look into and see like where her career is at now because I would love to work with her as an
Mhm.
adult. But like as a kid, like she embodied that role so perfectly.
Oh,
Like
definitely, yeah.
the energy she brought to the table, everything about it. Jim with the way he played the Grinch, like everything about that, the guy who played the mayor, right? Like everything about like just the whole thing just comes together so incredibly well. And I think that's one of the reasons that live action benefit or animated content benefits from being done well in live action,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You can if you can master whatever emotions are supposed to come through from the animation in the live action better, you're gonna end up with a better show for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and I also really gotta hand it to Jim Carrey because what I've heard, Jim Carrey hated wearing the costume. Jim Carrey also hated wearing the contact lenses because those contacts covered his entire eye,
Oh
and,
wow.
it was really uncomfortable for Jim, so Jim Carrey actually almost quit, but then one of the people making the movie happened to have known somebody in the military, like, who teaches, like, soldiers, like, how to, like, how to deal with torture, and so and then they
Mm,
brought him on just to help Jim Carrey, to build more resilience, to deal with that, and yeah, and I mean, Jim Carrey persevered through all that discomfort just for our entertainment.
yeah. See, like when you put that much effort into the performance, right? Bringing it full circle for those who ain't keeping up, right? You have to be part of the marketing, right? Like you have to put that commitment in because why wouldn't you, right? Like you did such an incredible job. You need people to see it. You know what I mean? And if it's not something that drives you, if like other people seeing your performance isn't something that drives you, because I know it's not something that fully drives me. Like I make movies that I want to watch, and then hence I want to make a second movie,
Mhm.
but then I do make the effort to get other people to want to watch them too. And I
Yep,
think my biggest piece of advice to actors from the other side of the table, right? Like as a producer, as a director, as a writer, I want to work with actors that want to see the film come to fruition, right?
yep,
That's what I want to work with the most. I don't want to work with an actor who's just here to be the actor, deliver great lines, and move on, right? Like I want to work with people who want to see the film come to life in its entirety because
yep,
until we have these multi-million dollar budgets, every single dollar we spend on a film
counts.
really matters.
Yep,
And I can't take a risk of you could be an incredible Shakespearean actor, but if you have zero people in your life who ever want to watch you act, that's not helpful to me.
nope. Nope, it's not. It's because that investment of your money definitely is, I mean, it's huge. It's because, I mean, you're only going to invest in a project if you think that there's something in it for you.
Mhm, mhm. And I think that's the big thing that for as an industry, right? People who aren't producers, because I think and I'm not saying this like defense of myself because I don't think I have any issues. People please email me or message me if you do have a concern. But I think most people
Right.
I've worked with have had a pleasure working with me, right? Like we for the most part all had a good time. So I don't take it any way like that. What I mean is just on a general level across the industry, there's this general lack of regard for what producers and the people who bring the money to the table for a project. There's a disregard for their value, right? And their value is their creative skill is figuring out how to get and spend money to make a movie, right? Your creative skill is acting. Your creative skill is controlling the camera. The thing is that because it's an industry that's top down in that way, everybody's already gotten their reward for being part of the project, even
Mhm.
if the movie never comes out because you got paid. You know what I mean? You showed up to work, you got paid, right? So you like going back to what I was saying, like I want to work with people who it's not about showing up and filming, it's about getting a movie made, right? Like I know tons of people who call themselves directors or producers, and I'm like, okay, where can I watch your stuff? And you can't even watch their films on YouTube, right? It's like, no, 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 no. The goal is to make movies, not just raise money to be on set and have fun shooting a movie. No, the goal is
Yep.
to make the movie. And I don't think enough people get through that back end portion of it.
Exactly, yeah, and I feel like a lot of people just take for granted, like, just how much work goes into making a movie in the first place and just how much planning there is, and unfortunately, you will have for more reasons than one, you'll have people back out at the last minute and then
Mhm.
having to find a replacement. I mean, that is always, I mean, at least in my opinion, one of the hardest parts about filmmaking is just, like when somebody backs out. I mean, even if it's for a good reason, like if they got COVID, or say, for an example, like with the, well, like in the case for Justice League, from what I heard is that the director had to back out because his daughter unfortunately took her life.
Yeah,
That's a very
a valid
justifiable,
reason.
oh, very, very, very justifiable reason to back out. And, you know, it's like, I get it, it sucks to have to deal with it, having to deal with somebody to replace them, but I mean, there's that saying that the show must go on.
Right. In a case like that, it's a very different conversation, right? But like
It is, yeah.
in the case of, and I think this happens a lot on indie productions, and I guess this would be a big piece of advice before we wrap it up. But when it comes to indie productions, I think we have to be more real with ourselves about the value we're bringing to the table, right? And now I'm talking about producers, writers, and directors in the indie space, right? Because we also have our flaws, right?
Yep.
As a writer, just because you wrote a great story doesn't make it the reason people need to be attached to this film.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's very few stories left in the world that haven't been told already, right? Every story we're telling in a unique way, but for the most part, the elements of the story already exist, right? So that's not the key thing that's going to attract people to be a part of this project. So believing like, oh, you have to jump on this because this story is so impactful, that doesn't mean anything, right? As a director, like you got to jump on this project because I know we can make a great movie. It's going to be so amazing. Like it's going to look like this and this. Like your visual understanding of what the film's going to look like also isn't the thing that's going to attach people to it, right? The producer is the only person who has any experience as to what's going to actually draw people to the film, but also you got to be better at how you manage that understanding and expectation, right? Like
Yep.
especially in the indie space where we tend to try to mask low payment with potential back end, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
if you've never actually sold a movie, you have no business telling people there's going to be potential back end because you don't actually know that.
Yep.
You understand? So just be honest and say, hey, listen, this is what our budget is. This is what we can afford. I completely respect if your career is past that point. So you don't want to work with us because we can't afford you. And that's it. It's just how it goes. Right. And producers need to be much more. And I think this is more of just a direct response to something I saw recently. I saw a budget from a producer slash director who essentially, because the film project was a very low budget, uh, she did not, or they did not take the cut to their own pay, but instead rationalized that they should be paid their normal rate and everything else would be figured out how to fit into the budget. Right.
Yep.
That's super disrespectful to every person you're trying to bring on board and also setting you up for the hardest time of your life as a producer. Because now you're going to run around. Sure, you got the money to pay your rent, but you're going to go running around trying to convince people to work for you for way less money than they need to pay their rent, way less money than they need to protect their equipment, right? Like I get really annoyed with the request on like a Facebook or backstage where it's like we're looking for free crew with their own equipment. Like, do you understand what you're asking somebody? You're asking somebody to bring $5,000 to $10,000 worth of equipment to your film project so that you can make your movie that's going to make you more money, more opportunity, more like this is not a realistic ask ever
Nope.
at all.
Yeah, and I mean, especially since that filmmaking, and I mean, it definitely is a collaborative process, and so therefore, it's not all just about you; it's about everyone else involved.
Right. Hmm. And so those are some key things. I know we didn't really talk much about the movies themselves, but
Which is
they're out
fine.
there. They're great. You guys should check them out.
Which is fine, and I mean, hey, hey, I definitely would love to have you on for a part two.